All right, so picking up from where we stopped, we covered the Excel interface, and now we want to proceed to basic operations, basic mathematical operations that we can do. Okay, so right here I'll just randomly generate some numbers and then list out some operations we could perform here. So let's say uh, um, group 1. So this is group 1, and then we have group 2, so I'll just do some random numbers. For now, do not worry about the function used. It will still be covered properly. So we're doing 20 and 50 here, and then I want that, let's say, up to this point. Okay, so bring this here. Okay, so change this to class A. Yeah, group is fine. Let's take this out and remove the formula so it doesn't keep changing. All right, so now we have the figures. So let's say we want to do a sum, so some operation, I'll do product, I'll do a difference, right? I'll do a difference, I'll calculate the difference. Yeah, of course, division and everything you can think of, okay? And everything you can think of right there. And then others could be average, and say, yeah, let's just keep it at this for now. Let's say we have a constant, so with constant, yeah, everything will be explained properly, so do not think too much about nothing too much about what's going on for now. Okay, so constant, then we have a figure here, say 17. Oh, okay, that's 27. All right, now what can we do basically with this, right? What can we do basically with this? Let me just this color background, adjust this a bit. Okay, good. Now if we want to carry out a simple addition, very straightforward. One thing that is important to keep in mind, one very important thing to keep in mind is you start with the equal to sign, okay, then you proceed with whatever it is you want to do. The most important thing to keep in mind is that you start with the equal to sign, then you proceed to whatever it is you want to do. Okay, if you want to perform any major operation, whether using basic mathematical operations or you want to use a function, okay, so you should start with equals to, then you proceed with whatever it is you want to do. Okay, so the first thing, I'll start with an equal to. Let me just zoom in so you can all see that very well. I'll keep it on 150 this time so that all our figures will show, will be displayed good. So I'll start with the equal to, and I'll select this, right? Then I'll add that to this. So this is a sum, right? So I'm just saying add whatever is in what? A2. What is A2? That's a cell, an intersection between a row and a column. That is a cell. I'm saying add A2 here to what we have in B2. One takeaway here is pay attention to the color codes. Excel make it easy, right, to be able to differentiate between the selections using color codes. The first thing we selected is this 50, right? And you can see the color of the text is in blue. And that is what we also have here. That is the box around it as well. Then the next one is in red, and that is also the box around it. Yeah. So as much as you select, you have different color codes to be able to tell them apart, just so you can tell them apart, which is very nice. Okay, so you might want to pay attention to that when you're writing, larger formula, way complex, long formulas, and all of that. So all we want to do here is simple. We start our operation or calculation or whatever it is we want to do with an equal to, followed by the cell reference, right? So we're saying whatever is in A2, we necessarily have to know, add it up to whatever is in what? B2. So that's what we're doing. And I'll hit enter. And just like that, I have what? Hit 9. Okay. So come here, do the same thing, select A3 plus B3, and I'll hit enter. 66. And that's correct. Right. You'll probably be thinking, do we have to do it all the way down? No, we don't have to. Excel can understand the pattern that, okay, we're trying to add the numbers in the first group to the numbers in the second group to get our sum. So yes, Excel is intelligent enough to find out that, okay, that's what they're trying to do. So we can complete the work for them. How do we do that? Is the option called fill. We can fill down. So when we fill, Excel looks at the pattern and then it repeats it for us. So how do we do that? Now, I must have mentioned that your cursor is important. What you see on your screen before you perform an action is important. Currently, my cursor is showing a big plus button. Is that correct? So the operation or the action I can perform with this cursor is highlighting. You can see if I left click on my mouse and I slide towards a particular direction, I will highlight. Okay. Another cursor icon that might change to, if we are at the edges, is this 4 directional icon, which shows that I can what? I can drag. This is a draggable icon. If I left click, again, I can move things around like that. Okay. And finally, if I come to the bottom right, with this big, thick, black plus button, unlike the earlier one, the one like this, right? So this black tick button, when I left click and I slide my head down, so it does a fill for me. Now that depends on whatever it is I have. If it's not a formula, it's not a number, if it's a text, it duplicates it all the way down, right? And that's what it did here. It duplicates the formula all the way down. But intelligently doing that. What do I mean by intelligently? If we pay attention to these numbers, we can tell that the sum for all the numbers are correct, right? 41, 42, 83, 42, 22, 50, 67, right? Very correct. So how did Excel, because let's take a look at this. If I put John, right? Put John here, come here, I drag all the way down. You can see that it duplicated John all the way down, filled John all the way down. In this case, how did he not fill A3, B3 all the way down? Right? If we check here now, this is A4, B4. Let's check the next one. A5, B5. But we didn't write the formula there, right? A6, B6. So how did Excel intelligently do this for us? That brings us to something we call cell referencing. Okay, so I'll just rename the sheet and add to it. So I'll say cell ref. Might not be able to type it. Let's look at that. If I don't exceed the number of characters. Cell reference. Okay, that allowed it not so long. Nice. So what is a cell reference? Cell reference is, simply put, relationship between cells. Right? A cell reference itself is just the address of a cell. For example, E8. So if I do this, say equals to E8 from the word reference. So I'm pointing to the cell. And Excel has given us a name for the cell, which serves as an address or whatever you find in E8, that is cell reference. Then in calculation or operation, they have different behavior based on how we define them. All right, it's nothing complex, very simple. We have two major types of cell reference. Okay, so I'll just say cell reference. And I do this. Okay, so two major types of cell reference. We have the relative, then we have the absolutes. Oops. Okay. Then we have the absolutes. Then we have the mixed. Yeah, I know I mentioned two major ones. So the mixed is just a combination of these two, yeah? So relative, the absolute, and the mixed. So this is default. So default behavior. This is a defined behavior. And of course, this is also defined. Okay, so I'll highlight this, make them, italicize them, reduce them a bit, and change the color slightly. Okay, let's keep it at this. All right. So by default, all cell reference are relative. By default, all cell reference are relative. Okay. So what does that mean? Relativity. In simple words, when we say, oh, this person is a relative, right? There's a connection, there's a form of relationship between you and the person. So in Excel language, if we were to put it that way, it will mean that when group 1 takes a step down, group 2 also takes exactly one step down. If it takes another step down, it takes one step down. If it takes two steps down, this takes two steps down. If it takes three steps down, group 2 also takes three steps down. If group 1 takes four steps right, group 2 also takes four steps right. So what does that mean? By default, since all references are relative by default, right? By default, what does that mean? So Excel understood the assignment. Very smart. Here we did A3 plus A4. And we dragged, as it were, the formula to the next one. That means we move it a step down. Oh, it now understands that here I was in C3, right? So I did A3 plus B3. Now it is in C4, column C, row 4, right? So now it is in C4. That will also mean the calculation should be A4 plus C4. Now it is in C5. To understand that it should be A5 plus B5. Then C6, A6, B6, C7, A7, B7, all the way down. That's how we got the assignment. Oh, that's what they're trying to do. When they move down a bit, when they move down a step, the calculation of the cell reference also changes by default. One step down as well. So that is cell referencing, right? The relative cell referencing at default or by default. That's how it behaves. So if I drag this forward now, you can think of it, right? Okay, now let's think of it before I show you the formula. This is now in D4. What do you think the formula will be? Think of it for a second. Right. It will now be B4, C4 because we dragged it right. So before it was A4, 8, I mean, because it was A8, B8, right? This is A8, B8. And because I dragged it to D, that means it moved all right. So we should now have B8 plus C8 that will give us this. And let's check. Right. Okay. So that is the way it works. If I take this, I drag it 2 steps further, and I delete this, you can tell what is probably here, right? Since I drag 2 steps further or forward, that will be C8 plus D8. And if you take a look at it, 4, C4, D4, pardon me, C4, D4, right? So you can take a moment to think about it, play the video again, make sure it stinks, right? Make sure it sticks. Nice. Now, the second type of cell reference is absolute. So because of that, I'm going to take this, and do something like this. Copy this. Okay, it's there already. So I'm going to take this. Now, I want to probably add this constant to all of this number. That means I want to increase the sum by 27. Easy peasy, right? Equal to, first thing we start with, we select this, then our plus button, and we select the constant, yeah? I4. Then we'll hit enter. 116, which is correct. So, as usual, we'll fill down, and boom. But then, we have a slight problem here. From the second one, it stopped being correct. So what could be going on? So this is C4I4, right? We'll double click. Because when we double click, we see our formula, and the formula points us to what was or what is highlighted, right? Or what is referenced. You can see it's saying that this formula is picking this first, blue color, red, red. So let's check the second one that is not correct. What is going on? Okay, so this is still correct. We want to do that, but this is not. Why is that? By default, Excel cell reference are relative. Excel cell references are relative. So when the formula came down a step, this came down a step, this also does that, because that's the default behavior, right? Now you're getting the hang of it. See the next one, it keeps going down. So let's go to the last one. Oh, our formula has moved all the way down here. We probably do not want that, right? We obviously do not want that. How do we correct it? That means we have to tell Excel that this cell has no direct relationship to this. They are not relatives, okay? Something like that. You can think of it that way. That okay, this is just a stranger on his own or on its own, right? On their own, and these people are related. Okay. So how do we tell Excel that this should not change? Because that's the point. It is absolute. They might be moving 2 steps forward. This guy does not necessarily have to move. Doesn't care. It might be there. Or this might move a step down and this might jump 200 steps. But in reality of it, we're saying this is not changing. So we want to keep it fixed. Okay. So we want to keep it fixed. How do we do that? Click here. Now the best way is you correct the formula from the first one, from the first cell where you write it, then you fill again. Okay, you fill again. When you correct it, you don't have to delete everything you've done. No, just go to the first one, correct it. Okay, when you're done correcting it, then you fill it again. Do not assume it will automatically overwrite it. Okay, it gives you that flexibility. Okay, when you change it, or the first time you do it, it fills down. When you change something else, you might need to fill down again. Okay, now let's keep it that way. Coming back here, C2, I4. So we want to tell Excel I4 is not meant to change. What do? We lock it. We're saying we want to lock this cell. We want to lock cell I4 so it doesn't change. And how do we get that done? How do we get that done? Very easy. We use the dollar sign. Okay. We use what? We use the dollar sign. So we're saying we want to lock the row and the column. So I'll put a dollar sign. The column is I, right? Dollar sign before the column and a dollar sign before the row number. So I'm saying I want to lock the row, I want to lock the column I, and I want to lock row 4 so it doesn't change. Okay, so I hit enter. Now I have 116, which is still correct. I have to fill again. So I will drag all the way down. And now we have the correct value. Let's check. Now we can see that this change, which is what we want, it should be this plus this, and this is not moving anymore. Let's check another one, random one. You can see now it is fixed. It's no longer changing, which is what we want. Very nice. Okay. And yeah, you probably notice that I dragged all the way down. You're thinking, do we have to do that every time? What if it's longer? What if we have a lot? What if it's about 1,000 row? What do we do? Yeah, there's a better way. Okay. So Control Z to go back to the incorrect formula. Okay. Back to the incorrect formula. So back up here. This is still locked. The first one is correct. What do we do again? We just come to the bottom. Instead of dragging, just double click it. So once you double click, it automatically fills down for you. Okay. So I'll be using the double click option now. Right. Moving forward. Good. To further drive this deeper and for clarity, we can go a step further. This is correct now, yeah? We can go a step further. So I'll just create a new one. So that will be with constant. Example 2, something like that. Example 2. Okay, so with constant example 2, so say we have this. Let's say this is our new constant 3. Okay. Now before we do this, right? So I can, let's just put this in a table. Control T. So we can easily move things around. Yeah, I'll take out the style, the one that. Okay, good. So I want to move products before this. Bring products here. Nice. All right. So let's do a products calculation. So let's say we're multiplying group 1 by group 2. So that will be equal to select group 1. Of course, because we now have it in a table, we're getting this nice name, right? Getting this nice name. So table, group 1 and group 2. Okay. If we had selected the entire column, we'll probably see the table name, okay? So, and you see that it automatically fills it down because it is now in a table. And yes, this is correct. This is a product of group 1 and group 2. You can see that the name is more descriptive. So we know, oh, we're multiplying, we're taking a product of group 1 and group 2, which is very nice. Okay. Say we want to multiply this with this constant as well. We'll do equal to this product, right? Then multiplied, asterisk sign, we'll select 3. Then we hit enter. And boom, only the first one seemed correct. So what's going on? We probably know by now. Let's check. Click on this, it has moved. And of course, because it's referenced in a blank cell, that will mean 0. And whatever you multiply by 0 will return 0. So that's how we end up, or that's how we ended up being here. So how do we correct that? We go to the first one, right? And then we lock this. Now we have a shortcut to do that. Instead of manually typing the $sign, we have a shortcut to do that, which is F4 on your keyboard. Okay, F4 on your keyboard. I will escape that. Okay, F4 on your keyboard. If F4 does not work directly, so you might need to hold your function key, which is Fn, usually towards your bottom left, Fn, then your F4. So that will work for you, okay? Good, you got it. All right, so we have J5. The question here, unlike before when we just logged it, which is correct, filled it down, you can see it also automatically filled down for us, which is correct, okay? Now, the question we want to ask is simple. What exactly is changing? What exactly is changing? Is it the column or the row? Is it the column or the row? Do not forget that the alphabet represents the column and the number represents the row. Okay, so in this case or in this scenario, what exactly is changing? Think of it. When we drag down, the formula keeps changing this way. Is that correct? So are we still in column J? Yes. Though it's going down the column. This is column J. It did not jump to another column. So that means the column is not changing. But is the 5, row 5, the number, is it changing? Yes. Because when it came down or jumped a step down, it became J6, another step down, J7, J8, J9, and all the way down. So we know that the column is not changing, but the row is. So we necessarily do not have to lock the column, since we know it is the row that changes, okay? It is the row that changes. So we can still use our F4. When we type F4 again, and we click F4 again, it locks only the row. So just pay attention to that. When you click it again, it locks only the column. And when you click it again, it takes the lock out completely. It unlocks the cell. Okay. So do not forget, if F4 is not working for you directly, probably because it has a primary key, or it has a primary function, I mean. Maybe for you, it might be the brightness, increases your brightness, volume, mutes, whatever it is. Just use the Fn with your F4 key, okay? And then you have it nicely done. So in this case, we know that we only want to lock the row, right? So just hit F4 once and F4 again, right? So I have J, then $sign F, then $5. So I'm saying I'm locking the row so that it doesn't go down, because the column is not changing in the first place, okay? Column is not changing in the first place. Hit enter and boom, let's check. And see, only 5 is locked. And yes, it's still correct, it's not changing, right? It's not changing. It's not changing, right? That's it. It's as simple as that. Now let's go back to this that we did earlier and click it. So you get the idea now. We can take out the dollar sign from J and our values will still be correct. See, it is still correct. Exactly. Now you know better. Now you know better. So cell referencing is now clear. So you can have it mixed where you have both. So you have a relative and you have an absolute reference, right? Good. So that's just it. By default, all cell references are relative. Or by default, cell reference is relative, but you can define absolute cell reference. You don't want this to change. It does not have a direct relationship with this. Okay, good. So the idea is that we're just considering some basic operations and we're understanding cell references. So what if we want to calculate difference? We want to calculate the difference between this and this, the two constants. So click on equal to, as usual. Select this, the first constant, example 2, minus the constant, example 1. Then hit enter. And yes, this is the difference between these two numbers. That means you're subtracting 116 from this, subtracting 93 from this, subtracting 110 from this. You're taking out 94 from this number. You're taking 92 from this. You're subtracting this from this, and all the way down like that, which is correct. So yes, Excel does allow us to perform basic arithmetic operation, and we can also do some of these things with functions. Okay, we can also do some of these things with functions. And with this, oh, we have this left. How do we perform average? Average is, in simple English, sum of numbers divided by count of numbers. Okay, that's just what average is. Sum of numbers, of course, we're going to get the error. We're not adding any actual thing. So let me do this. So sum of numbers over count of numbers. So how do we actually do this? Say we want to take average of the difference. So that will be, let's open a bracket for BODMAS sake, PEDMAS, depending on the country and what you use. Click this. Then that's plus. Okay, escape. Okay, then this, plus this, plus this. I know it's stressful. Of course, there's a better way, but I want to do it manually first, see how it works. Then this, then this, then this. So we can also change this to G2 in a way, since we're not using the column directly. G2, okay, so this is what we have. Close the brackets, divided by, how many numbers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Anyway, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll divide that by 10, we'll hit enter. And yes, this is the average of all these numbers. This is the average of all these numbers. So let me just move this up slightly. Okay, so this is the average of all these numbers. Yeah, I know I moved it up, no worry. Excel is smart enough to know we moved something up. You can see, smart enough to know. All right, so with this, we'll be wrapping up this here, the basic calculations. So going forward, we now see how we can do some of these things with functions, just like the average. I mean, it's a lot of work if we have larger data sets, right? Do we have to start clicking one after the other and then we count? And no, of course, we don't have to do all of that. Okay, so we'll start looking at functions. What functions can help us? Functions that have been developed to make the work easier for us, right? So we'll look at that in the next video. Do not forget, if I was a bit fast, use the playback speed or watch again and again and again. Take notes, follow along, do it your way. Just make sure you're getting it. And yes, use the comment section effectively. Feedback is greatly appreciated. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you're getting value, say that in the comment section. Share with your friends, and I'll see you again in the next one.